Are you ready?
Ready.
All right, let's go. Kevin here, Top 1 Financial Advisor and best-selling author. We are here to talk about the stock market. Today, I am going to give you a 3-step process to help you analyze where the stock market is going. Now, I want to help set your expectations, but before we do, we got 2 things to address. Number 1, hit the like and subscribe button. That is your attendance for today. If you have a question, feel free to drop those in the comments. The second thing, and perhaps the most important thing, is the thing that is the top corner of your screen right now. Yeah, that right there. Y'all notice that? Y'all notice that? If y'all were watching these videos, especially over the last year or so, you know we had 1 trophy. Now we got 3. So this weekend, I went to FinCon and picked up 2 awards thanks to you. We picked up the award for Best Investing Content. That is what we do here. Thank you guys for nominating me there. And then Best Community Builder, which is one that I really did not expect to be nominated for or win. So it really speaks to how incredible you are and how great of a community that we have built. Not just here on YouTube, but on public as well. We have over 430,000 subscribers or followers there. 20,000 on Instagram. We're getting close to 4,000 here on YouTube. I'm just really excited because it means a lot to me. These are like the Oscars of personal finance. Like this is it. So for us to do that not once but twice is amazing, and to take 2 victory laps at the awards was really cool. So I appreciate y'all. Thank you for nominating me and voting for me. And this is just a really great experience. I've been doing this for a while, and to start to be recognized for it really speaks to the process of coming out here, creating content, answering questions, and being authentic. And I think that is really important. So I appreciate y'all, but let's go ahead and get into the content as I kind of get back into my normal space and normal, corner of my room. All right, so there are 3 things when it comes to understanding where the stock market is going. Now, again, going back to setting your expectations, this is not a way to predict where the stock market is going tomorrow. We don't do that here, and that is not accurate, okay? However, you can start to understand where the broader market is going, and that can help you to pick stocks and even funds to say, look, this is where the market is going. These funds make sense, and these stocks and these other funds do not make sense. There's a reason why, let's say, the ARK Innovation Fund is absolutely terrible this year, and a regular index fund is fine. Some of these dividend funds are totally fine. Some of these defensive stock funds are fine. There's a reason for that. So let's go ahead and get into these 3 things. So the first one is consumer spending, and this is, you could argue, is the most important, and there are different ways to kind of take this. So number 1, our entire economy, 70% of this is based on consumer spending. Where you, me, and us as a collective spend our money is the biggest driver of the economy. And it makes sense. You could argue that, and it's not really an argument at this point, but when we spend too much money and there isn't enough supply, and you have that mismatch, that's how you get inflation. And inflation is not good. And we've all experienced inflation in one way or another this year. That's one way. But another way is, even on a company or industry level, take cord cutting, right? Like, this eventually moves into Netflix and Disney Plus and Hulu and all kind of stuff. However, we were spending money on cable, and then we stopped. And we started moving to Netflix, and we kept spending so much money at Netflix and others that then these other competitors started to show up, like Disney Plus and Hulu and ESPN Plus, all owned by Disney, by the way, and HBO Max and Peacock. We spent so much money there. Even YouTube launched a YouTube TV subscription. Even Apple and Amazon now have a streaming service based on how we have been spending our money. We spent so much there that now all these companies have to fight each other for our dollars. So you have to pay attention and say, like, where is consumer spending moving, and how can I take advantage of this? And this can be different answers for different companies, right? Maybe Netflix has got to make some adjustments, and they have. Perhaps I still spend there, perhaps I don't, or perhaps I invest there, or perhaps I don't. Take even electric vehicles. Now, as of today, electric vehicles have not outpaced regular combustion engines, but you can see the trends. For example, I have now seen, more Teslas than I've ever seen in my life, I feel like. But also, you're starting to see electric charging stations pop up in places that I have not seen before, right? I'm used to passing a gas station all the time. I'm not used to going to a parking lot and seeing a bunch of charging stations. That's not normal. but it will be here pretty soon. So watch consumer spending. See where that is going. That's one of the biggest indicators to help you to understand where to invest and where not to. Where go follow the money. It is a simple process. Follow the money. And it's really going to tell you where the market is going. It's going to tell you where certain stocks are going to go to. The next one here is pay attention to interest rates. This is an extremely important one, and it plays a part right now in 2022, and it's always played a part. Interest rates are what help companies to expand and grow their business. Essentially, they borrow cheap money and these stocks explode. Is what you saw in 2020, and it's really what we saw, I would say, from the end of the Great Recession, let's say 2009, 2010, all the way up into the coronavirus pandemic in 2020. That is one of the biggest reasons why we had the biggest bull market in history, because tons of these companies, Tesla included, was out here borrowing cheap money, growing aggressively, and that is one like boon for the stock market. Yeah, some people saying that, you know, the entire stock market was propped up by the Fed and all this kind of stuff, and there are some arguments to it. But again, when you can borrow money cheap, and let's say you can borrow something for 2%, and you can go out and sell your products and your goods, and your margin is 10%, you can pay out that loan easy and keep that 8% for yourself. That's a win, right? That's an easy win if interest rates are low. If interest rates are low, which that is no longer the case. Interest rates are rising, and they're rising quickly. So those exact same companies that were small and borrowing aggressively and just taking up a lot of money and not profitable are the ones that are suffering the most, and that is what you see right now. It is a reason this is the exact reason, like companies like Snapchat and others that were doing great in 2020 when we said, hey, let's cut interest rates down to zero. Those are the exact companies that boomed. They did incredibly well. And now they're kind of on the ropes. They're struggling a bit more, and this is because of interest rates. It's why, and we've talked about this, I feel like all year, companies that pay dividends, healthcare companies, defensive stocks, stocks that have been around, and companies that have been around for years and years and years, they're more stable and don't have to depend on that capital. It's one reason why a tech company like Apple and even Microsoft, they're not doing great this year, but they're not down 60, 70%. It's not in a Peloton place where Peloton, depending on when you're looking at it, can be down 80 or 90% over the past year. These are different places, right? And company like Amazon, not doing well, but they've got cash. They don't have to borrow at these crazy rates as they are continuously rising. So this is another layer. We're going to start to make a triangle here. So we've got spending, we got interest rates, and then the last part that we have is inflation. Now notice all three of these things do come together and give you a good picture of the economy, because if inflation is high, which it is, and we have seen this year, we're supposed to be at 2%, we're at like 8 or 9%. We're going to get a new inflation number tomorrow, so we're going to find out even more. However, in either case, you can see that as inflation changes and rises, then consumer spending changes. You can look at this as an easy case of looking at this is a company like Target. Right, we saw that Target had invested a lot of money in home goods, so grills, desks, bookshelves, things of that nature. Why did they do this? Because consumer spending had changed. We hit the pandemic, people were at home a whole lot more and spending money on being at home, renovating their decks. It's a reason why I was in my mind said HG, Home Depot, and Lowe's did incredibly well. Stanley Black & Decker, I think their stock symbol is SWK. They did extremely well in the pandemic because people were at home, building stuff, doing all types of great arts and crafts and all that stuff. And then inflation started to pick up, and what happened? Groceries got more expensive, gas got more expensive. So that nice new couch you thought you were gonna buy, you said, look, I need food, right? Gas is more expensive, flights are more expensive. So the consumer spending shifted, and because Target invested too much money in home goods, they lost, what was it, 95% or so of their revenue? We did an entire video on it, and that is one reason why Target suffered. Consumer spending changed. Why did it change? It changed because of inflation. So you can start to see how these three things start to connect together. How do you lower inflation and make inflation or force inflation back down to where it should be? You got to raise interest rates. And to do that, it's going to hurt specific stocks. So you can see now that these three things start to connect together. And even better, you can take this triangle, if you will. I should really brand this and call it some special process. But in either case, you can take this triangle, you can take this process and start to apply it or put it over certain stocks, and that's going to give you a filter on what makes sense to invest in and what doesn't make sense to invest in. So you can take a Dollar Tree or a Dollar General, for example. Dollar General is probably doing better than Dollar Tree because Dollar Tree got hurt by earnings. But in either case, you can see where are consumers spending. Well, they're still spending on these staples, right? They're still going to McDonald's. McDonald's is up double digits, surprisingly. Coca-Cola, right? Hershey. Why is Hershey doing well? For a few reasons. Consumer spending is still in somewhat of a need category. You don't need candy, but some of us really do. But in either case, consumer spending is strong there. They're more easily able to raise costs by 20% without you noticing, even in an inflationary environment. Why is that? Because if it's a $1 candy bar and it goes up by 20%, that's 2 dimes. That's 20 cents. You are probably not going to care that much about that additional 20 cents. Now, you might at the gas pump, right? Because you're spending a lot more, and if gas prices go up by 20%, that's a different ballpark. Your house goes up by 20%, or your mortgage price goes up by 20%, that's a different thing. But on a $1 candy bar, you're probably not going to fight it. However, knowing consumer spending and interest rates and inflation together can help you to understand what stocks make sense and at what point in time do these things start to make sense. So use those three factors, use it as a lens. I'm trying to think of a better word for it. Lens, a layer, a filter, whatever it is you want to use it for, to help you to determine what makes sense to invest in and when. Stocks right now, I'm trying to think of some of the worst. Peloton, Upstart hasn't done well. The ones that had to borrow, that's probably not going to be the best stocks right now until interest rates starts to fall and consumer spending goes away from gyms and back for Peloton anyway, away from Planet Fitness and all that kind of stuff, back to at home things. It's probably not it's over for Peloton until those things start to change, until interest rates start to come down, until inflation comes back down, where people can spend more money on an expensive bike. You got to pay attention to those three things. They will tell you almost everything about what to invest in, when to invest in it, and also when to get out of stuff. Because if I were investing in if I was investing in a high-tech stock that wasn't doing well, I would have gotten out by now, because I can see with these three things that consumer spending is changing and inflation is changing and interest rates are changing. This might not be helpful for me. So that's not going to tell you 100% of the time what's going to happen tomorrow, okay? But it can help you to understand the broader economic trend and what to look for and what not to look for. And this is the exact same reason, as I've been saying all year, why we've been paying attention to dividend stocks and healthcare stocks. Because healthcare, consumer spending is really consistent. It is resistant to inflation and resistant to rising interest rates. That's why Humana and Cigna and others, United Healthcare, have done so well so far this year, because we understood, at least those who subscribed and was watching, it was in the members only, at least those people, we've understood that and have moved into those investments, and they've done quite well compared to those who are still holding on to what worked for them in the pandemic, right? Like Snapchat, it ain't working. Okay, one of the reasons why Snapchat has to cut 20% of its staff, which is terrible, is because interest rates and inflation and consumer spending, all that stuff is moving. Advertisers are moving away from Snapchat and over to TikTok. Advertisers and consumer spending is changing the way that people are using Facebook due to Apple and a bunch of other things. But everything that we talk about and look at, and everything you should be looking at when it comes to the market, should be filtered through those three lenses. And I can tell you right now, it's going to help you to make better investment decisions. All right. That is it for me. It is bath time for the kids. Y'all can hear in the background. But in either case, make sure that you check out the members only. We do a brand new video every single week based on your specific Q&As. We talk about exclusive investing tools and things that I look into, as well as deep dives for any company that you select. So we'll be doing a new video this week. And that is it for me. Thank you again for voting for the Plutus Awards and nominating me. I really appreciate it. And I will see y'all tomorrow.